Welcome to CS 179 Networking 1 and our final module, Module 9. And in this final module, we're going to talk about security, how to protect your network. So we're going to introduce security threats and network controls, and we'll look at risk assessment and intrusion prevention, which includes preventing, detecting, and correcting those intrusions, and some best practice recommendations and implications for management when considering security. So, security has always been a major business concern, especially back before firewalls when everyone was protecting their network using access control lists on routers. Physical assets are protected with locks, barriers, and guards, but information assets are protected with passwords, coding certificates, and encryption. So computers and internet have redefined the nature of information security. Now we have laws that have finally started to catch up a little bit, but of course they're always going to be somewhat behind. Breaking into a computer is now a federal crime in the U.S., and new laws against cyber border crimes are yet difficult to enforce. Sentences are typically very light, so that needs to improve a lot. Computer security increasingly is becoming important. We're finding that you can bring a company down to their knees and almost go completely out of business, as we have seen with the North Korean hack into Sony and with the hack into the POS systems at Target. Viruses, worms, credit card theft, identity theft leave firms with liabilities to customers. Incidents are escalating at an increasing rate. So the CERT team, which you can sign up for to have them send you emails anytime there's a new type of threat, was formed at the Carnegie Mellon University with U.S. Department of Defense support. So it responds and raises awareness of computer security issues. So go to cert.org to sign up. I get my reports usually about once a week. Worldwide annual information security losses may be $2 trillion. That's money that's going to some very bad people that are doing things with it that we don't want them to have. So business continuity planning related threats, you've got disruptions, loss of reduction in network service, loss or reduction in network services. Could be minor or temporary, but then again, it might be huge. You could have destruction of data. You have viruses destroying files or crashing hard disks. You have disasters such as natural or man-made disasters, which can also destroy data. And then, of course, you have intrusion by hackers gaining access. Unauthorized access incidents involve employees most of the time. The results, industrial spying, fraud by changing data, etc. So a lot of times, people who are no longer with a company will take passwords information that they've gained and sell that to hackers or use it to hack into their old company themselves. Mechanisms that reduce or eliminate the threats to network security is one of the network controls we're talking about. Types of controls are preventative controls. They mitigate or stop a person from acting or an event from occurring, such as passwords and backups and that kinds of things. They act as a deterrent by discouraging or restraining. Detective controls are different. They reveal or discover the unwanted events after they've happened, using auditing, syslogging, that kind of thing. So anytime it sees anything, it sends a log file off to a server, and then that gets audited and then discovered and sent to someone as an alert. Documenting events for potential evidence, you need to have the chain of evidence kept intact. So if you go after someone who's hacked into a business, then that's what you need to get them. Corrective controls, remedy an unwanted event or a trespass. Example of reinitiating a network circuit. So you need to restart a circuit, that kind of thing. Network assets, they identify the assets on the network. Sometimes people don't even know what assets they have until those assets go down or go away, and they realize how important they were to their business. Mission critical applications are also very important. Hardware, software components are important but are easily replaced, but it's that data that is the most important. Evaluate assets based on their importance. Prioritizing assets is a business decision, not a tech decision. So you take all that information to the C-level people in a company or management and let them decide what's important, of course, after you educate them on your opinions. Value of an asset is a function of its replacement cost. Of course, a lot of times that's what people see right away is what would it cost to replace it, but they don't really know the true nature of the replacement cost. The personnel time to replace the asset should also be included in that replacement cost, and the lost revenue due to the absence of the asset. So I had one company that was very cheap on spending technology, but when they had a VPN user with a virus on their computer VPN into their office and it infected all of the servers and other computers in the office, it cost that company over $800,000 a day. So they could have taken just that one day's worth of losses and even half that amount and completely changed their network so that issue never would have happened. Some security threats, you got to identify the threats, any potential adverse occurrence that can harm or interrupt the system using the network or cause a monetary loss to an organization. And sometimes you have to put your black hat on to see, what could you do if you wanted to disrupt this network? How would you do it? And then other times people hire IT consultants to come in and do that for you if you're not sure how that would happen. And then they do what's called white hat attacking. Rank those threats according to their probability of occurrence, likely cost if the threat occurs. Take the nature of the business into account. So, for example, a banking type of a business is going to have different risks than a restaurant might have, and be a bigger target too at the bank. So now let's talk about viruses. That's something else that can really negatively affect a network. I'm sure all of you listening to this have had a virus at some point on their computer that educated you as to the need for an antivirus program or anti-malware. So macroviruses are one of those types that attach themselves to other programs and spread when the programs are executed. So a real popular macro type of virus is one in Excel or Word. So you don't even know you have the virus until you launch a program with that macrovirus attached, and then it goes and attacks your computers. Worms are a special type of virus that spread without human intervention, sends copies of itself from computer to computer. Antivirus software packages check these disks and files to make sure they're virus-free, but they're not always 100%. As a matter of fact, they're never 100% accurate. Incoming email messages are a big source of viruses, so if you need to have some type of a filter that looks for those viruses before they get to the user's computer. So denial of service attacks is a big growing trend way of bringing down a network. You take a whole bunch of infected zombie computers and you tell those computers to all ping a particular network all at once, and it brings down that network based on their bandwidth being completely used up. So they do this to web servers, email servers, all types of things so they cannot respond. A distributed denial of service comes from many different computers. So as I just mentioned, it could come from a lot of different computers that are all infected. Or you could just have a few computers that have very good bandwidth, and they could bring you down with just a few computers if their bandwidth exceeds your bandwidth. Very difficult to prevent a DOS and a DDoS attack. You have to set up servers all around the world, so if one area gets cut off, then the other one can handle the traffic. Use intrusion detection and prevention systems, which we'll talk about in a little bit, and require ISPs to verify all incoming messages have valid IP addresses. This isn't always something that ISPs want to do. So, types of different intruders. You've got the casual intruder, limited knowledge. This might be, somebody on the inside of your network that might work there that has a little bit of knowledge, or it could be on the outside as well. Then you have security experts. Their motivation may be the thrill of trying to get through. Crackers are hackers who actually cause damage, so they don't just get through, but they actually cause damage once they're in. Professional hackers are breaking into computers for specific purposes, usually money motivated. They're trying to steal something they can sell or steal money itself. Organization employees with legitimate access to the network can gain access to information not authorized to use. So they get this information and they may decide to use it against the company. So you need a way to prevent that from happening. And you can do that by being proactive. So the best rule for high security: do not keep extremely sensitive data online. Saudi Arabia actually did this, and they kept their oil well information on a network that wasn't connected to the internet. So when hackers brought down their office computers, they were able to continue to pump oil because those computers were not on the internet. So that would be one way to do it, or store them in an isolation away from the network. Security policy. Have a policy that's critical. It's critical to controlling risk due to access. It should be defined very clearly. Important assets should be safeguarded. What employees can and can't do should be clearly spelled out and enforced. And a plan for routinely training employees and testing security controls needs to be in place. Basic access points into a network, such as LANs, wireless, and internet, need to all be secured. Elements in preventing access is perimeter security and firewalls. So, of course, you've got firewalls protecting you using network address translation, which we talked about in previous modules. You've got physical security as well. Don't let them into an area where your servers are physically located, where they can steal hard drives and walk out. And, of course, if you're still using old-fashioned dial-up, you'll want to have dial-in security as well. Firewalls, that is a way to prevent intruders by securing internet connections from making unauthorized access or DOS attacks. Could be a router or gateway or special purpose computer. You can certainly put firewall modules onto a router to turn it into a firewall. You could put a firewall software package onto a computer and have that computer be the firewall. And it could be routing data back and forth. So it examines packets flowing into and out of the organization's network, restricts access to that network, and placed on every connection that network has to the internet. Lots of different types of firewalls out there, but the two most common ones are state tables and proxies. So state tables, basically when a connection is made, it keeps the state of that connection in a table, and that way it can confirm whether or not the person is who they say they are. A proxy actually takes a connection, breaks it, and then recreates it again and sends it off to the other connection. It's very difficult to hack a proxy. Even more difficult to hack a proxy than a state table type of firewall, but the difference is that the proxy is much slower, so some people may not be able to live with that. One of the ways hackers try to get in is they use IP spoofing, and this is the reason why we had to replace routers with actual firewalls, because spoofing was so common. Spoofing basically is done by simply changing the source address of an incoming packet, which hides their real address. And if you have an access control list that says, hey, I'll allow every packet from this one set of IP addresses, but not this other, well, if I mimic the set of IP addresses that is allowed, then that's how I can get into your network. And firewalls are much better at not getting spoofed than routers are, so that's why they had to be replaced. Routers had to be replaced with firewalls. You need to look for security holes made by flaws in network software that permit unintended access to the network. It might be a bug that permits unauthorized access. Might be operating systems that contain security holes. Of course, all of them contain thousands of security holes just yet to be found, so you have to make sure you have your updates done. And the details, of course, can be highly technical. So once discovered, knowledge about the security hole quickly circulates on the internet, so a race will begin. Hackers will start trying to use that vulnerability before you go in to patch the security hole. And that's one of the reasons why to sign up for these different places from Microsoft and things like that to let you know when some sort of vulnerability is out. So other security holes are flawed policies adopted by vendors. So new computers sometimes come with pre-installed user accounts with well-known passwords or no password. And managers forgetting to change these passwords could cause a security problem. So some computers come with admin with no password, or guest with no password, or guest with a known password of password. So there's different types of things that you can get that come that need to be changed before you actually put them on your network. Trojan horses, remote access management rootkits that enable users to access a computer and manage it from afar. So how do you get a Trojan horse? Well, it's most often concealed in other software that is downloaded over the internet, such as in music or video files. Undetected even by the best antivirus software because they hide so well. Some of the major Trojans back orifice attacks Windows servers and morphed into tools such as MoSucker and Optics Pro. Very easy to use, so script kiddies can adjust them the way they want to. Three types of Trojans. There's spyware, adware, and denial DDoS types of Trojans. And spyware monitors what can happen on the target computer, can record your keystrokes and send them back to the hacker. Adware monitors user actions and displays pop-up advertisements on the screen. It can get very annoying where you can't even get your work done. And those can be in combination with viruses, so they may not just be Trojans by themselves. They may work with viruses, as I've seen in the past. So, forms of access, something you know. This would be two-form factor authentication, something you know and something that you have. So something you know would be a password. Users gain access on something they know not very secure due to poor choice of passwords. Of course, you can change that in group policy in Windows. One-time passwords. Users connected to a network obtain a password via a pager or a token system. This is far more secure because those token systems rotate every 60 seconds or so, and they sync up to the token system on your server. Something that you have, a card-based. Users gain access based on something they have, such as a smart card or ATM, typically used in conjunction with a password. So that is some pretty good security there. Something you are. Users gain access based on something they are, such as a fingerprint, hand, retina. I've seen bone scanners. It's convenient. No need to remember passwords. All you have to do is bring your hand. Used in high security applications. It's fairly low cost. Fingerprint scanners are easily fooled, though, so don't necessarily recommend those unless they're very high-end ones. Another type of hack is going to be social engineering. So breaking security by simply asking. So attackers impersonate others on the phone to ask for information. Personal account, account company information. All they have to do is say go online, deduce their kids' names or their birthday, and because a lot of that information is available online. And then when they call in, if that is the security password is their birthday or whatever, then they use that to gain access to their actual passwords in order to get reset. Another example is phishing, so usually sent by email to millions of users, directing them to a fake website where they log in. So they might see a Bank of America website, for instance. It looks just like the real one, put their username and password in it, and the attacker goes in and logs into the real Bank of America site and empties their bank account. So detecting this kind of thing, you can use an intrusion prevention system. There's also what's called intrusion detection system. Now, typically, IDS uses prefabbed signatures that are known signatures that people use to hack. But IPSs are better because they use sort of a fuzzy logic. They look for what's normal for a computer, and when they find that something unusual happens, they'll block that access to that computer because it uses this logic-based system. So there's network-based IPSs, host-based, and application-based. So they're all looking for something unusual that shouldn't be happening on that network or device. So in summary, we talked about security threats and network controls, risk assessment, intrusion prevention and detection, best practice recommendations, and implications for management. And I hope you've enjoyed our 9 modules in the CS 179 class.